In one of America's most haunting unsolved cases, there's a clue that's been hiding right there in plain sight. Or maybe, more accurately, in the total lack of sight. I'm talking about the Ramsey basement. It's not just a place, it's a puzzle. And today, we're going to try to unlock it by looking at one single, inescapable thing: the darkness.
So let's just jump right in, okay? Because this is the question that could change everything. How do you commit a murder in total darkness? I mean, really think about that. How do you move through a cluttered, strange room, pull off a complex crime, and then stage the scene, all when you can't even see your own hand in front of your face? Well, the answer to that question, that's what we're digging into right now.
All right, let's get right to it. Fact number 1. The cellar where JonBenet's body was found, it wasn't just dim, it was a black hole. I'm talking no windows, no light seeping in from a hallway, absolutely nothing.
And look, this isn't just my opinion. This comes straight from a witness on the scene, Fleet White. He opened that cellar door during the search, and what did he see? Just a wall of pure, impenetrable black. In fact, it was so dark, he didn't even go in. He just saw a void.
Okay, let's talk about what this actually does to a person. When you're in total darkness, your brain is basically starved for information. Your stress levels shoot up, you have no idea where you are in space, and the chance that you're going to make a mistake, a loud, clumsy, oops, I just knocked something over kind of mistake, it just skyrockets. For anyone, this isn't just tricky, it's a massive, massive disadvantage.
And here's the kicker. Even John Ramsey, the guy who owned the house, even he said he had to fumble for the light switch. Just let that sink in for a second. If the homeowner himself couldn't just waltz through there in the dark, how on earth could a total stranger?
And that brings us to fact number 2. We're not just talking about one little dark room here. The entire basement was basically a maze, a confusing, dangerous labyrinth that, get this, even the Ramseys found tricky to navigate.
So you've got this whole basement to deal with. There's the train room, which had some windows, sure, but John Ramsey himself said he'd still have to turn on the lights to see his way around. And then you've got the cellar room, 0 windows, always pitch black. So what's the bottom line here? No part of this basement was safe to walk through unless someone intentionally flipped a switch.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to John Ramsey's own words from an interview in 1998. He called it hazardous, pitch black, tough. He wasn't just describing a room, he was describing a death trap for anyone who didn't know it, filled with what he called a lot of junk. The risk of making noise, of tripping over something, of getting hurt, it was just off the charts.
So what are we looking at here? Let's put it all together. This basement, it wasn't a family room, it was a place you avoided. A place you only went into if you had a very specific reason and you always turned on the lights. According to the theory we're exploring, it is the absolute last place a rational stranger would ever choose to commit a crime.
Okay, this brings us to fact number 3, and this is where things get really interesting. The argument here is that the darkness doesn't just make you ask questions, it actively tears the whole intruder theory apart. The environment itself makes that scenario seem, well, almost impossible.
Just look at the disconnect here. On one side, think about how a stranger would act. Panicked, right? Stressed. They'd make noise, they'd make mistakes, they'd stumble around. But then, you look at the evidence from the actual scene, and what do you see? Control, precision, someone moving confidently, staging things methodically. The two just don't add up. It's like 2 different worlds.
And there's a whole field of study that backs this up: environmental criminology. Basically, it says that offenders, they want to minimize their risk. They want to be in control. They pick spots where they have the upper hand. A pitch-black, cluttered basement in a house that isn't yours, that is the definition of high risk and low control. It's a massive gamble.
So we have to ask the big question, right? How did this intruder move like a ghost? If they couldn't see a thing, and there's no evidence of a flashlight or anything, how did they operate with the precision of a surgeon? That's the question that just hangs in the air over this whole case.
This contradiction, it forces us to look at fact number 4. And this one is explosive. What if the basement wasn't where the crime happened at all? What if it was just a staging area, a place chosen very carefully for a cover-up?
And the evidence for staging, well, it's pretty powerful when you lay it all out. You've got the notepad from the kitchen, the pen, the broken paintbrush that was used for the garrote. All of these things were gathered from all over the house. Then the body itself was posed and covered with a blanket from the home. This doesn't look like chaos. This looks, as the theory goes, like someone was building a story.
You know, there's actually a name for this. It's called forensic framing. It's when someone messes with a crime scene to mislead investigators, to create a fake story. And the story here seems to be a kidnapping that went horribly wrong. The goal isn't just about hiding a body, it's about hiding the truth of what really happened and who was really responsible.
And that changes everything. The question isn't just how did this happen in the dark anymore. The new question is why? Why was the scene set up this way? What incredible, devastating truth was all this, the darkness, the staging, designed to bury? Which brings us to our final and maybe most important point. The core argument here is that the biggest clue in this entire case, it wasn't a fingerprint, it wasn't a fiber, it was the room itself. The darkness wasn't a problem for the killer. No, it was a tool.
So let's just walk through the logic here, step by step, because proponents of this theory say it's unavoidable. Okay, step 1. To get around in that basement, you needed a light, or you needed to know it like the back of your own hand. Step 2. There is zero evidence an intruder brought a light. Step 3. Turning on a light or making a bunch of noise would have been incredibly risky. You'd wake up the whole house. So, what's the only conclusion? The person responsible had to have operated with an insider's knowledge.
And this just completely flips the script on what the darkness means. For an intruder, for a stranger, that darkness is a nightmare. It's a huge liability. But for someone who knows that house, someone who, according to the theory, is trying to hide something terrible, well, for them, the darkness becomes an asset. It's a shield. It's a cloak.
And some forensic psychologists will tell you that choosing a place of total darkness isn't just a tactical move, it can be symbolic too. It can represent things like suppression, secrecy, psychological dissociation, and those are traits that aren't usually linked to a random stranger, but to someone much, much closer to the victim.
So when you put it all together, what does this theory suggest? That the clues aren't pointing to some random chaotic attack. No, they're pointing to an act of shocking control, carried out in a place that should have been completely uncontrollable for anyone else.
And that leaves us with the final, haunting question at the heart of this theory. When you look at all the evidence, all the contradictions, the impossible stealth, the perfect control in that dark basement, does it really point to a stranger who broke in? Or does it point to someone who never had to?